Hello there and welcome to World of Tanks with Centennial Titan. We're on the highway map and I have the Centennial Chieftain T95 Tier 8 premium tank, obtainable by purchase or by playing the operations recently. I've recounted my experience in the operations in the Road to Centennial parts 1 and 2 videos. This is my first game in this particular tank, and I've shown all my recent first games on new tanks, and with the exception of the Centurion Action 10, where I had a lot going on that week and I didn't have a particularly good first game, but I kind of showed the highlights of it on the part 1 of the Road to Centennial video. So we're heading over along the A line, myself, another medium tank and a light tank. And the light tank has encountered an enemy light tank. That light tank is going to follow out our tank into the middle of our side, should we say, of the map. And is going to pay dearly for it because he's not going to survive the experience. So far we've made no other contact with any enemy tanks, and we're not very well supported on the ridgeline. There are quite a bit of artillery back around our base, but there's only one heavy tank who hasn't left the spawn area as far as I can see, and even if we can attack tanks at this point, I'm not sure if he can actually engage them or see them. They're probably outside his render range. The other thing about the Centennial is that I'm using the crew that I have on the Action 10. But that crew wasn't my best trained British medium tank crew. I've left them on the Centurion 7-1. And this crew doesn't have any reconnaissance. They don't have either reconnaissance or situational awareness. So basically they have no viewing skills. So you've noticed here that Sixth Sense is going off and I'm not detecting anything. Which is something that I didn't have a problem with in the FE4202 at Tier 10, but it's becoming an issue now that the FE4202 is a Tier 8, and it's also an issue here with the Centennial, even though I have coded optics on both of these tanks. So the problem with Sixth Sense going off and not being able to see anything is that you can be shot at if you're on your own, and there's nobody there to spot for you. If I was going to disengage, I think now should have been the time I should have done it, but it didn't really occur to me at the time. So now that the enemy are closing in on our position, it's no longer really feasible to disengage. The ground behind us is completely open, it's all downhill, and there's no real cover until you get to the ridgeline on top of the base at the other side, and you would be under the guns and under the view range of any tanks that have crossed over. So at this point, myself and my fellow medium have little choice but to sort of hang in there and see if we can inflict as much damage as possible and delay the enemy's ability to come at our base, giving the tanks in the town a chance to clear up in the town and get at the enemy cap circle. The gun handling is pretty good on this tank. Armour is, I suppose, average for the tier. It's not particularly good, but it will bounce quite a few shots. And the mobility is excellent, in my experience. Both forward, reverse, uphill, downhill, acceleration is actually all pretty good. I've played a few more games in the Centennial since, and I have found the mobility side of it to be pretty good, and the gun handling to be pretty good. So I'm being completely mobbed at this point, and this is the end of the game for me. However, overall the team's position is actually pretty okay. We have the numerical edge and we've cleared their forces out of the town. The mediums that have wiped us out over in the northwestern corner have yet to cross the river. So we will have the opportunity to push on their base before they're in a position to do it. Now this guy basically throws himself away. He should have stayed where he was at this point, where he could have retreated behind the edge of the hill if he was receiving too much fire, whereas in his current location he's forced to retreat uphill. Retreating uphill is something you should always try and avoid doing if you can possibly manage it, because it's going to be slow, particularly if you do it in reverse. You're going to be slower than you would be going forward, and you're exposing your engine deck and the turret roof to enemy fire, which are generally very weak in most tanks. A lot of tanks have only 20 or 30 millimeters of armor on the engine deck and the turret roof. Now we've just lost the light tank, but we have reached their base. We still have a medium tank in the middle of the map, in the central road there, where he's in a position to cover our base. And somebody now shortly just eliminates the final enemy medium. I was trying to encourage the Panther there to actually stay in the cap circle rather than going after the two tank destroyers. The final enemy medium has been destroyed and there's now just the two tank destroyers left. So that's the end of the Panther. So now we've just two tanks capping the base. And the remaining Centennial is coming back down to support them. But the enemy tank destroyers are in a position where they actually have very little cover. They probably can receive fire from the medium. They can receive fire from the tanks in the cap circle, and we've managed to eliminate them, so we won. So the final result, I get about 1300 points of damage, which is not quite fire for effect. I did block about 1200, so the armor did hold up somewhat. And I came 5th by experience. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. And please press like on the video if you enjoyed it, because it really helps out the channel. See you again soon, and bye.